बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्लाह के नाम से शुरू जो दिलों में नूर ईमान पैदा करने वाला है। This is mathematics tutorial lecture for inter part 2 presented by Harunabad Science College. This is lecture number 4. My phone number and email is mentioned over here, and I have mentioned some coordination timing for your question and queries. My name is Muhammad Vyas Nasser. So we can start our lecture number 6, which is of continuous and discontinuous functions. So today we will start our discussion about continuous functions and discontinuous function. To define continuous of a function and discontinuity of a function, we need to define a concept which is named as criterion for existence of a limit. So existence of limit का criteria सबसे पहले तो हमें define करना पड़ेगा. So the criteria of existence of a limit can be written as limit f of x is equals to L at x approaches C when x approaches C is a defined number and L is a defined number. It is a defined number. So this is the notation for the existence of limit. When limit exists, we can denote the limit by this notation. So वो ये कह रहा है कि लिमिट एट एक्स अप्रोचेस सी एफ ऑफ एक्स इज इक्वल टू एल लिमिट एग्जिस्ट करेगी इफ एंड ओनली इफ ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ उसी वक्त होगा व्हेन लिमिट एक्स अप्रोचेस सी नेगेटिव एफ ऑफ एक्स. सी नेगेटिव का मतलब है कि सी से आप नेगेटिव तरफ से अप्रोच कर रहे हो, छोटी तरफ से अप्रोच कर रहे हो, पीछे से अप्रोच कर रहे हो. सो दिस इज डिनोट फॉर लेफ्ट हैंडेड लिमिट. दिस इज फॉर लेफ्ट हैंडेड लिमिट named as LHL. And this is limit x approaches C positive f of x is equal to L. This is called a right-handed limit. So a limit exists when left-handed limit is equal to a right-handed limit. And when left-handed limit is equal to right-handed limit, we can say that the limit of a function at that point exists. So this is some criterion for the existence of a limit. So by saying the definition, so here he mentioned the definition of left-handed limit and right-handed limit. Limit x approaches C f of x is equal to L as left of f of x is equal to L approaches when x approaches C from left side. What does it mean? It means that if we have a function y is equal to f of x, if we have a function, this function y is equal to f of x, then at this point, at this black dotted line, x naught is the point of real line, this line domain, and this dotted line is the image of that point, which is equal to L. So this is the image of this point x naught, this L, and this point, this line is called x naught. This point is called x naught minus delta, and the image at this point, this point, this line, this red line, L minus epsilon, is the image of that point, and this green line from right side is that point x naught plus delta, and the image at this point is this above red line, so which is L plus epsilon. So this is the image. So at this point, this is called left-handed limit, and this at right-hand side, it is called right-handed limit. If the images of left-handed limit and right-handed limit is approximate equal, then we can say that function is continuous. And if the images are not very has a very difference, very big difference, then we can say that function is discontinuous. We have some examples about our discontinuity. To define discontinuity, first of all, we need to define our continuity of a function. To define the continuity of a function, we need to see the definition. So by definition, we can say, so to define the continuity of a function, by definition. So continuity of a function at a number can be defined as a function f is said to be continuous at a number c if and only if follows these three conditions. First of all, functional value f of c is defined number. Secondly, limit exists, and thirdly, functional value is equal to existence of limit. So अगर तो आपके पास ये वैल्यू, इस वैल्यू और इस वैल्यू का आंसर सेम आता है, तो फिर हम कह सकते हैं कि फंक्शन कंटिन्यू है. दिस सेंटर्स लाइन, ये सेंटर वाली लाइन, ये जो सेंटर वाली लाइन है, ये अपने आप में रिप्रेजेंट कर रही है फंक्शनल वैल्यू को, और ये नीचे वाली लाइन रिप्रेजेंट कर रही है लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट की वैल्यू को, और ऊपर वाली राइट हैंड. अगर ये तीनों अप्रोक्सीमेट इक्वल है, सो वी कैन से दैट अ फंक्शन इज continuous, and these all must be defined number, not undefined. All cannot be undefined, so you cannot say a function is continuous. So they must be defined. So we have some examples about our discontinue. First example is this example. To define this example, we see that our left hand limit can approach from left hand side at this. If we drawing the our coordinate axis, so from left hand limit this point can be image of this function, and from right hand side it be this image. So as we see that we have a very much difference between these 2 points. These 2 points are not equal, so we can say that our function is discontinuous. So this is the first kind of discontinuity, when left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. There exist 2 types of discontinuity, which is equal. First one is limit must not exist, left hand limit cannot be equal to right hand limit, and this is the second kind of discontinuity. So our left hand limit and right hand limit cannot exist. These are undefined numbers. So at this point, which is not in your domain, so left hand limit is undefined, which can be infinity. Right hand limit can be infinity. Here your right hand limit is positive infinity and left hand limit is negative infinity. So this is your second kind of discontinuity. So that was your second kind of discontinuity. So there exist 2 types of discontinuity of a function. So these are 2 types of discontinuity. A function can be discontinued if one of condition out of these 3 cannot be satisfied. So अगर इनमें से कोई एक भी satisfy नहीं होती, तो आपका function discontinue है. You can tag it discontinue. So we can move to our function. Exercise. Our question number 1 is to define this function, the continuity of this function at point C. So we need 4 things: left hand limit, right hand limit, functional value, and all must be defined number. First of all, we are calculating our left hand limit. Left hand limit is nothing in our this polynomial function. As we see that this is polynomial function. So in polynomial function, since polynomial function is always continuous, so there is no need to check left hand limit and right hand limit. But the criteria must be satisfied. To define the criteria, we need to find our left and right hand limit. So defining left hand limit. So for defining left hand limit at c is equals to 1, we need to approach x approaches 1. From left hand side can be represented as 1 negative. 1 can be represented in top of 1. So this can be denoted for left hand limit. So we just need to replace 1 by x in the function. So we are replacing 1 by x in the function, we can get result -2. On right hand limit, we just need to replace negative by positive in the top of 1 in limit. So we do not require to do anything. We just need to replace 1 by x in this function and getting result -2. On replacing for the functional value, we don't need to require limit. We just need to replace the number as it is in the function. As we replace this number into the function, we are getting -2, since left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, which assures us the limit is exist of this function. So existence of limit is equal to functional value and all are defined numbers. So you can tag your function is continuous. Now we are defining our function x, which is x square minus 9 over x minus 3 at x is equals to -3, c is equal to -3. We need to define continuity as c is equal to -3. So this is left hand limit. So to define left hand limit, we need to put negative on the top of 3 and replacing -3 by x in the function. So on replacing, we are getting 0. On taking positive function right hand limit, we are getting 0. So for functional value, on direct replacing x by -3, we are getting 0. So all are same values and defined number. So you can tag your function is continue. Welcome back. We was studying at second question. Now we can move to our next question, which is f of x is equal to absolute of x minus 5. This is very important function. So we always need to define somewhere our existence of limit, the criterion for existence of limit in some function which are being necessary. First one is absolute function, piecewise function, breadth function, floor function, can be greatest integer value function, and some other function. So at these functions, we always need to define the criterion for existence of limit. The criterion for existence of limit is to define left hand limit and right hand limit. Since our function is absolute function, as you can already studied, this function is absolute function, positive function, so its range is always positive. On removing this absolute from this x minus 5 function, we can get plus minus 8 by x minus 5 function. So it gives us two value. One is negative, second is positive. So this is the domain, the line of domain. This is real line. So we need to define the continuity at this point 5. So for left hand, we have this function, and at right hand, we have this function. So for left hand, we can calculate our limit by this function, and for right hand, we can calculate our limit for this from this function. So he using left hand limit by this function minus x minus 5, and he using for right hand limit this function x minus 5, which is x minus 5. So on both sides, he get the same result, which is equal to 0. On replacing for functional value as it is in the function directly, he gets same result as 0. And 0 is also defined number. So as all the requirements are satisfied, so you can tag your function as a continue. So you just need to remember the absolute function is always continue. You just need to remember absolute functions are always continuous. So our question number 2 is of continuity of function of a piecewise. Since piecewise function is very important function, so the piecewise function, in piecewise function, the domain is being splitted into two parts. So he splits the domain of the function as he says that function must be 2x plus 5 if your domain is x less or equal to 2, and your function must be 4x plus 1 when your domain is greater than 2. So we need to define the continuity at c is equal to 2. So at c is equal to 2, we need to define, first of all, this is piecewise function. So we always need to explain our limit existence criteria, which is left hand limit and right hand limit must be equal. So first of all, we need to define the functional value. For the functional value, which function can we choose for the functional value? So functional value can be checked at point 2. We want to check functional value at x is equal to 2. So we will pick up that function which contains 2 in its domain, as this function 2x plus 5 contains 2 in its domain, as its domain is x is less or equal to 2. But this function 4x plus 1 cannot take 2 in its domain because its domain is strictly greater than 2. For the functional value, we will choose that function which contains that point in its domain. So 2 is contained in the domain of this function. So for functional value, we will choose 2x plus 5 as a function. So he used 2x plus 5 as a function. On replacing 2 by x, he get the answer as 9. Function here now, as we have get our functional value, now we must need to check our left hand limit and right hand limit. So left hand limit, we split our domain in two parts, as we want to define the continuity of that function at x is equal to 2. For left hand, we have this function 2x plus 5, because he says that when x is less or equal to 2, when x is less or equal to 2, your function is 2x plus 5. So when x is less or equal to 2, when your this domain is 2 or 2 से less होगी, तो ये function होगा, ये function यहाँ तक होगा. लेकिन but when your domain is strictly greater than 2, जब ये simply 2 से बड़ा होगा, तब ये function होगा 4x plus 1. So for left hand limit, अब आपका left hand limit 2 नेगेटिव से शो होता है, मतलब 2 से छोटा होगा, तो 2 से छोटे होने के लिए ये फंक्शन यूज करेंगे, एंड राइट हैंड लिमिट के लिए ये फंक्शन यूज करेंगे. फॉर लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट he used 2x plus 5 and get 9 as a result, and for right hand limit he used 4x plus 1 and get 9 as a result. As left hand limit is equal to right hand limit and is equal to functional value, and 9 is also a defined number, so you can tag your function as continue function. So your function is continue. Now we can move to our question number 2. So he says that your function is continue. So question number 2. Your question number 2 is f of x is equal to 3x minus 1 by 4 and 2x. So he splits its domain at 1. So he says that your functional value is, your function is 3x minus 1 when x is less than 2, sorry, less than 1. Your functional value is 4 when your x is exactly equal to 1. So your function value is equals to 2x when x is greater than 1. So you need to find the continuity at c is equal to 2. So at c is equal to 2. So and we don't need to check the continuity at c is equal to 2. Here he states the correction. Here he states the correction. He says that we need to define the continuity at c is equals to 1. So by graphical, he states that this is your real line as a domain. This is real line, your domain. This is 1. So at 1, the functional value is 4. At when x is less than 1, your function will be 3x minus 1. and when x is greater than 1, your function is 2x. We need to discuss continuity at x is equals to 1. So first of all, we need functional value. So we choose that point, that function which includes that point where we want to check the continuity. We want to check the continuity at c is equal to 1. So we will choose that function which contains 1. So only this function contains 1 in its domain. All other function cannot contains 1 in its domain. So we will choose this function. Since there is no x, no variable, so the functional value is equals to 4. So functional value is equal to 4. Now we want to find the left hand limit and right hand limit. For left hand limit, we will choose this function 3x minus 1, and for right hand limit, we will choose 2x plus 2x. So for left hand limit के लिए हम लोगों ने 3x minus 1 रिप्लेस किया, चूज किया, x लिमिट चेक करने के लिए x की जगह 1 रिप्लेस किया, तो आंसर मिला 2. सो राइट हैंड के लिए भी हमने चेक किया, 2x पर 1 रिप्लेस किया, आंसर मिला 2. सिंस लिमिट तो एग्जिस्ट कर गई, लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट और राइट हैंड लिमिट इक्वल है, बट दिस इज नॉट इक्वल टू फंक्शनल वैल्यू विच इज इक्वल टू 4. सो आपका फंक्शन डिसकंटिन्यू होगा एट x इज इक्वल टू 1. So at x is equal to 1, your function is discontinued. I have leave this part for your homework. Home. Home. This question is your homework. So we can move up to your question number 3. So your question number 3 is f of x is given. We need to check the continuity at -2 and +2. So first of all, we will checking our continuity at x is equals to 2. For 2, we need to define for functional value. For first of all, to check the continuity at 2, we need to define our functional value at point 2. So we will choose that function which contains 2 in its domain. So this function contains 2 in its domain. So for this one, to check the continuity at 2, we will choose this function for our functional value, which is equal to 3. So functional value is equal to 3. We are getting functional value is equal to 3. Now we are getting left hand limit and right hand limit. So for left hand limit के लिए हमारे पास ये function होगा, क्योंकि for left hand limit के लिए जो भी पॉइंट मिलेगा वो 2 से छोटा होगा. सो ये सारे के सारे पॉइंट 2 से छोटे हैं जो कि इस फंक्शन के पॉइंट है, और ये सारे के सारे पॉइंट 2 से बड़े हैं जो कि इस फंक्शन के पॉइंट है. सो लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट के लिए हमें फंक्शन चाहिए x square minus 4 minus 1, x square minus 1. So at 2, x square is 4, 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. And for right hand limit, this function is just equal to 3. So right hand limit is 3. So since functional value is 3, left and right hand limit is 3, and 3 is also defined number. All the conditions are satisfied. So your function is continue at 2. Now we are checking at -2, at x is equal to -2. When x is equal to -2, we will choose that function which contains -2 in its domain for functional value. Since this function contains -2 in its domain for functional value, so your functional value will be replaced in 3x and x by -2. So which is equal to -6 for left hand limit. So left hand limit and right hand limit. So लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट के लिए -2 पर लेफ्ट हैंड के लिए ये फंक्शन बनता है और राइट हैंड के लिए ये फंक्शन बनता है. लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट के लिए आप इस फंक्शन में वैल्यूज रिप्लेस करोगे और राइट हैंड लिमिट के लिए आप इस फंक्शन में वैल्यू रिप्लेस करोगे. अगर आप इस फंक्शन में वैल्यू रिप्लेस करते हो 3x में, तो आपके पास सिंपली -6 मिलेगा. 3x में वैल्यूज रिप्लेस करने पर सिंपली -6 मिलेगा. और आपको राइट हैंड लिमिट के लिए x स्क्वायर -1 में रिप्लेस करने पर वैल्यू आपको 3 मिल रही है. सो लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट राइट हैंड लिमिट के इक्वल नहीं है. सो दिस इज फर्स्ट काइंड ऑफ डिसकंटिन्यूटी एट x इज इक्वल टू -2. सो क्वेश्चन नंबर 4. he says that a function f of x is equal to x plus 2 when domain is when x is less or equal to -1, and function is c plus 2 when x is strictly greater than 1. So इस पॉइंट पर हमें डिसकंटिन्यूटी चेक करनी है. जब x छोटा और बराबर होगा फंक्शन x plus 2 होगा, और जब स्ट्रिक्टली x से बड़ा होगा तो फंक्शन c plus 2 होगा. अब उसने खुद बता दिया है कि आपने c की वैल्यू मालूम करनी है. उसने कहा है कि c की वैल्यू मालूम करनी है अगर आपका फंक्शन कंटिन्यू है. तो अगर तो हमारा फंक्शन कंटिन्यू है तो फिर लिमिट लाजमी एग्जिस्ट की होगी बाय डेफिनेशन. अगर लिमिट एग्जिस्ट की है तो लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट और राइट हैंड लिमिट का आंसर बिल्कुल सेम होगा. सो हम लोगों ने इसी कॉन्सेप्ट को यूज किया है. अगर हमारा फंक्शन कंटिन्यू है तो फिर लिमिट एग्जिस्ट की है. अगर लिमिट एग्जिस्ट की है तो लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट राइट हैंड लिमिट के इक्वल है. सो लेफ्ट हैंड लिमिट के लिए हम लोगों ने x plus 2 लिया और राइट हैंड लिमिट के लिए c plus 2 लिया. सो x plus 2 में हम लोगों ने c इज इक्वल टू c किस पे चेक करना है, जिस पर आपकी फंक्शन की डोमेन स्प्लिट की जा रही है, जहां पर फंक्शन की डोमेन स्प्लिट की जा रही है. सो स्प्लिट 1 पे की जा रही है. सो आप लोगों को x को अप्रोच करवाना है 1 पर. लिमिट आप कंटिन्यूटी 1 पे चेक कर रहे हो तो x आप अप्रोच करेगा 1 को. सो x में 1 रिप्लेस करने पर सॉरी -1 at -1 sorry -1. So at -1 your point -1 अप्रोच करने पर -1 plus 2 बनेगा which is equal to c plus 2, and that gives us the value of c is equal to -1. That gives us c is equal to -1. For question number 5, he says that function is given. He says that function is continue at x is equal to 3 and f of 3 is equals to n, and we need to find m and n. We actually need to find m and we just need to find them. So if function is continued, then limit must exist. Then function left hand limit must be equal to right hand limit and is equal to functional value. Left hand limit बराबर हुई होगी right hand limit के, और right hand limit equal हुई होगी फंक्शनल वैल्यू के. सिंस फंक्शनल वैल्यू इज इक्वल टू n, सो फंक्शनल वैल्यू की जगह n आ गया. अब रही बात लेफ्ट और राइट हैंड लिमिट की. सो राइट हैंड के लिए ये फंक्शन होगा और लेफ्ट हैंड के लिए ये फंक्शन होगा. सो mx अब स्प्लिट हो रही है डोमेन, फंक्शन तुम्हारा कंटिन्यू एट x इज इक्वल टू 3, तो x तो 3 को अप्रोच करेगा. सो लिमिट ले लिया x अप्रोचेस 3. सो ऑन रिप्लेसिंग x by 3 वी कैन गेट 3m. 2x में x को 3 से रिप्लेस करने से -6 plus 9 मिलेगा. -6 plus 9 is equal to n. Simply is equal to n. So यहाँ पर हमारे पास सिंप्लीफाई करने पर ये वैल्यू मिलती है 3m is equal to 3 is equal to n. So अगर ऐसी बात है तो n is equal to 3 and 3m is equal to 3. When 3m is equal to 3, on cutting this 3 on both sides, m is equal to 1 and n is equal to 3. We just need to find these two numbers. So we have find m and n. So your homework is your next part. Second part is your homework, and your second question is last question is your homework. So your homework is mentioned. These two questions and first assignment is already given to you. So hope you will betterly understand this. So if you have any problem, any question and queries, you can coordinate me in coordination timings. So that is all we want to define. Best of luck and Allah Hafiz.